Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Upset Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Latasha Hewitt, and we're ready to upset the fruit basket again. I'm happy to welcome the crew, my fellow upsetters. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, glad to be here.
Doing
All
great.
right. Ready for
good.
episode 2, everyone?
Absolutely.
Come
Let's
on,
do it.
smile, Sally. Smile. We ready.
So last week, we gave everyone an opportunity to learn a little bit about us. And this is our opportunity for everyone to learn a little bit about what this podcast is about, the upset. I mean, when you hear a name like that, what comes to mind, right? Well, we're here to answer that for you right now. I'll just start off by saying, the upset is exactly what it sounds like. We are here to upset the fruit basket, and some of you are very familiar with that game we used to play. I know. Did you guys play that game, by the way?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. No, never upset the fruit basket.
The reason why GP don't know about that because he never went to like socials in his church or anything like that. He never did that.
Nah, y'all are just old.
No, really, nobody else. Tally.
I'm playing.
No. Okay, so I feel like I have to explain the concept now. So upset the fruit basket. Everybody will sit in a circle, and you were assigned a fruit. Okay, and then the moderator, but it was secret. No one knew what fruit you were. Then the moderator would randomly call out a fruit, and anyone who had that fruit had to get up. It was almost like music chair. You had to get up and run around and then find you another chair. Am I telling you right?
Something like that. Either way it goes. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, and oranges, grapes.
Right.
Yeah. And all these people would get up. I think they would move a chair. And if you didn't have a seat, of course, you couldn't sit in the same seat that you got up. Anyway, there was this high point in the game where the moderator would say, upset the fruit basket. So
Right.
everybody, no matter what fruit you were, had to get up and run around and find a chair and not be the last man out. And so even though you were upset, if you didn't find a chair, it was still so much fun that in the end, you really didn't care. So, that's the kind of the same concept.
Are you saying that when we're done here, people won't care or they'll care more about what we're
they'll put it in perspective, even though I was upset in the moment or may have heard something here that made me think differently or upset what I normally thought about a particular subject. It's okay because in the end, we realize it's all for fun or it's all for edification.
Gotcha.
Is that?
I think the don't care part, Joshua, is that we don't care.
The upset is we don't care. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, sometimes people are sensitive when we say we don't care, right? That kind of comes off bad. But in a way, as we mentioned last week, we're all employees of the Allegheny East Conference, But with this podcast, things are a little different. We don't represent, these are not official statements and opinions of the Allegheny East Conference. These are our thoughts, right?
Are you putting out a disclaimer already?
Listen, we got to do it. You can't have a name like the Upset and not have that disclaimer. So, so what does all this mean? We're not just here to push everyone's buttons and get everyone riled up. So team, based on what we talked about, what are we doing here? What are we going to be talking about? What are some of the subjects we want to talk about? So Justin, we kind of have little beats that we kind of assign each one. What's going to be your focus on this podcast?
Yeah, I'm going to be taking a look at the hot topics and current events that are happening in our society and world. So anything current happening, whether it's a meme or an event or something that is kind of going viral that we all are talking about, I will be spearheading those issues.
All right. So we're staying current. We have something to say about all those things. Oh, we lost Tyler real quick.
No, we didn't lose him. He went to the bathroom. As soon as he gets back from the bathroom, he's going to be right back. You don't have to ask me what my thing is. I mean, my thing is I'm dealing with mental health. I think that we have to. There's a lot that's going on. There's a lot that's going on in society. There's a lot that's going on in our families, etc. So I'm going to be dealing with mental. I know you didn't ask me, moderator, but
but go ahead. This is
I just want Tyler Fair to hurry up and get out the bathroom so he can get back, and then we can go from there. But no, that's what I'm going to be discussing. I think that we struggle with anxiety, we struggle with depression, a lot of mental health issues, and so I think I'm going to be handling with that and fighting with GP all the way through with all this stuff.
Let's go.
No, that's good. I'm glad you're going to be dealing with mental health. The irony of it is just remarkable. But Tally, we're happy to have you back from the restroom. At least that's where Pat put you. So we're kind of sharing the topics, the beats that we've been given that we're going to be bringing to the table here. So what's your beat? What are you going to be bringing to us? Oh
man, we're having some.
Oh no, we can't hear you.
No, it's that Saturday morning thing where you can hear the voice, but it's karate flip.
Yeah, upset. When we force people to read your lips instead of being able to hear your voice. Yeah, we understand.
Send Tally back to the bathroom and we could talk about him and his political type stuff that he likes to talk about.
And that's so funny because we heard him so well just 5 minutes ago.
Literally,
you've been silenced. I don't know what that means, but
I think he's just moving his lips, and
I think he's teasing us.
The mic is on, but he's just.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, he's going to try again. But I mean, while we're waiting for him, one of the things, just kind of give you an idea of this setup. Justin's going to bring his topic. Pat's going to bring his topic. Tally's going to bring his topic. Let's see how's it. Can we hear you now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go. I don't know. You know, for those who are observing, we have had some challenges, and that shows that we're really going to be doing something well. But my beat will be the very heady and quixotic atmosphere of politics and news.
Hold on, can you before you get finish up there? Anybody have a dictionary?
No, I was gonna say, we just let the people know you will have to ask Siri, have your phone on hand.
Is it possible that we don't have to carry around a thesaurus while you speak words?
But is a thesaurus, is that a large reptile from the prehistoric age?
I think so. I'll take that.
But dealing, I mean, I'm drawn to that passage of scripture where it speaks about everyone being subject to the governing authorities, and there's no authority except that which God has established, and the authorities that exist have been established by God. We will weave our way in and out of the arcane and Byzantine world of those who are elected to serve the populace. And so I look forward to that. Basically, we'll be going in and out of the political world and trying to make it relevant, not something that is wholly other, but that's something that is relevant, current, and meaningful to our everyday workaday lives.
Mm-hmm.
See, even that has been taboo. We don't like to mix politics and religion. We step on toes when we do that, but we are the Upset podcast. So
a lot of people don't know this, but last year I was one vote away from being a state representative. One vote.
Wow.
Yeah. I'd been asked by the community to run, and my church, I didn't realize it until I withdrew. That many folks in my church didn't want me. They said, "Pastor, you shouldn't be in politics because politics is dirty," and And I said, "Well, then who should do it?" And they said, "The dirty people." I said, "Oh,
to keep it dirty, huh?" Wow.
Yeah, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with the whole social justice stuff, I think that bringing awareness to that has made people a little bit more amenable to hearing about it more and realizing that as Christians, we do have an obligation as Christians to do something about what happens locally and nationally. Okay, Charles, or Chuck. Chuck. I'm going to work on that Chuck thing.
I'm just hanging out. No, I just, depending on the subject matter, I'll probably bring in a little bit of historic perspective on some things. Because the old adage, history repeats itself. And then a lot of things that we're experiencing today have happened before. But, the names have changed to protect the innocent. So I can kind of bring that up and just tag along, to be controversial if I think it's warranted. There's a tendency for us as people of faith, we become so preoccupied with our faith or our religion, we blind ourselves. We create our own scotoma about reality. And I think that's a dangerous thing to do.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you have a scotoma, it's like what those horses wear. They don't want the horse to see them left to right, just straight ahead. Sometimes that can be dangerous because you could get broadsided by some reality issue that you weren't expecting. And on top of that, not knowing how to contextualize that with your belief.
That's deep, man. It sounds deep, man. And I'm just here to, offer my opinions.
Keep us in line.
Keep you in line. Make sure we don't get kicked off.
Or fired.
Gotta have one grown up in the room,
And I want to ask those questions that our viewers, our audience, our listeners want to know as well. So pretty much the format will be one of our hosts will present a topic. We'll give them their time to share what they need to share, and then we're going to come up and upset it all. Like we're going to either agree or disagree with what everyone has to say. Now, we as a team, and you guys can back me up on this, have decided that we're okay with disagreeing as long as we're not disagreeable, right? That's kind of like
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah, that's kind of the basis for what we're doing. And we want people to get comfortable with getting upset. And when we say upset, that means something that shakes you out of your norm. But also sets you up for expanding your mind to think about things a little differently and to expand your horizon. Somebody was going to say something.
No, we were with you on that.
Actually, if you roll back the tape, she said something. She was like, when we're being, I wonder what she really wanted to say right there. I you know what, here's how I look at it. I even look at it from the standpoint of mental health. There's a lot of Christians who say don't take medication. There's a lot of Christians who say if you go to a therapist, you don't have faith in God. I say that's the reason why there's a whole bunch of crazies in the church right now, because we don't allow ourselves to get to that place where we can be helped. So I know this for a fact. Just as Taliaferro was talking about his political views, there are a lot of Caribbean people, because of what has happened in their country. No, but it's true, who don't want to get into the political arena or who don't want to deal with it, especially from our Adventist standpoint. So that's the reason why you couldn't be a representative, or they couldn't see you as a representative, because everything political is negative, and look at the beautiful church that you're in right now. Great church, great area.
Great, yeah.
West Philly. Now, I like that you kind of said that, because sometimes we make certain topics off topic for us as Christians. We let them talk about that. And I think what we're trying to do, especially this generation that we're dealing with now, like my children and even, millennials, and they want to know about what's happening. They want to know about current events. They want to know how they should be involved in politics. They want to learn why they are depressed and don't know what to do, and so we want to provide a forum where we can have a space where these things are talked about. And to be honest, there are really not a lot of spaces in our churches currently where Christians can delve into these topics without fearing some type of,
Sure.
See, we're all secure in ourselves and somewhat secure in our jobs, and that we feel like we can provide a forum.
That's somewhat. I don't
do this.
Little words she's using. She's saying somewhat.
As far as we know. And so we want to invite our listeners and our viewers to be a part of this process with us. So, we're going to come up with certain topics, but we want you guys to kind of throw some things at us, throw some questions that, are upsetting you, that you want to, upset the fruit basket and have us discuss. We're open. And even this panel that you see here, we're going to have guests on here who are going to be sharing their opinions. And so, we're excited about where this is going.
I'm sorry, Charles. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we need to be able to provide a place for people who even question their belief system. Sure. There are more people than not that will sit up in church every Sabbath, hear a sermon, hear the choir, say amen, and sit out in the parking lot and question whether what they heard really does mean anything to them.
Absolutely.
I've had conversations with people and they've confided in me. They said, I go to church every Sabbath. I pay my tithe and I'm a good Seventh-day Adventist Christian. But I agonize over this inside questioning of whether I really do believe.
Mm-hmm.
And my belief system, whether am I just going through the motions, or is it a deep felt spiritual experience, that I can share every week? I mean, I've talked to a lot of young people who they won't engage you on that subject unless you kind of open it up and they confide in you, but you'd be surprised at how many say, not so sure.
Yeah, because they don't want to talk about it because they're afraid that as soon as they express any type of doubt, they're going to be, pounded over the head with how could you question God? We don't create those spaces where people can ask questions and we generally answer them.
Well, aren't we in the age now of spiritual but not religious? Isn't that the type of thing that's coming in right now? So we have to be careful because now religious seems negative while spiritual seems positive. And so I think we'll have the opportunity of bringing that balance and with our thought process. I'm sorry, Tally, I didn't cut you off.
No, it's I mean, in the same vein of what you're saying and what y'all said earlier. Our church is saddled with a construct, a mental construct that is based on righteousness by orthodox thought. In other words, you have to know what's right and you have to think only that. And people are afraid to challenge what they think. I remember that old saying, don't always believe everything that you think, and so you have to air your mind out every once in a while. And challenge your thinking. I mean,
right.
What is really true should stand up to a level of scrutiny that allows you to be healthier. And so I think we'll help people with that.
Yeah.
I want to make a quick disclaimer. Our job here at the Upset Podcast is not to tell you how to think or what to think, but to make sure you're thinking.
That you are thinking.
Yeah. And that's why we all have different opinions. And
No, I think you should think the way I tell you to.
No, but you're joking. But there are a lot of people who have that mindset.
That's true.
And if you challenge them, it's like, how dare you disagree with me?
Are you saying like pastors or what are you?
I'm not calling out any particular.
Not pastors.
Call them out.
Evangelists for sure. I remember about one evangelist, somebody said, I wish I was as sure about anything as he seems to be about everything.
But it's especially, listen, also we have fourth generation Adventists now that's coming through. That's young people, because you know how the ages go now. We're having our children earlier. We have like 4 generations, and what the fourth generation and the first generation thinks about as far as our traditions are concerned are no longer what they used to be. I mean, right, even now during this pandemic, taking a walk on the beach or taking a walk in the nature, we could not do that 20 years ago without there some type of sin being called on us or something of that nature. And so I think that when we start to get into some of these discussions, it's really not right or wrong. And I think Tally said it earlier. I think I'm going to upset the bat now when I say this. But
Do it.
I believe that some of us, when we get to the kingdom, God is going to call over all the Adventists. It's going to be like, everybody else, you go over there. I want to talk to all the Adventists over there. And I want you guys to know you made it difficult to get here.
Yeah.
And
we're going to say, really? And he's going to say, yeah, all both of you.
You know what I found? I'm finding that even as long as I've been in the church, that young people today are voicing their disagreement and their what's the word? They are confused. Their confusion. They are voicing it more.
Right.
Whereas when I was coming up in the church, I thought it a lot, but never voiced it.
Never could say it.
I mean, when you're being pastored by someone who gets up in the pulpit and tells the congregation that it is a sin for you to change your clothes on the Sabbath.
Wow.
You, Chuck, you haven't even begun yet. My father taught me
Wow.
that on the Sabbath, if you took your jacket off in the church, you were less than a man.
Wow.
Really?
Your
Oh, I guess I
jacket.
had it easier than I thought.
See, I was a Gentile bastard grafted in, and so I mean I joined the church. I was 16, and I had no family in Adventism, and I mean even now I really the only family I have are my in-law family, but so I didn't know all of these strange things that you guys speak of. You know that
Yeah.
I remember in California they had made a rule that you could go walking in the ocean in the surf up to your knee, but if you went beyond your knee, that was swimming in pleasure, and therefore I would go and look and wait for somebody to go beyond the knee to see if they would burst into flames. You know,
Tyler, you ready for this? We used to cover the TV on Sabbath,
Like
I mean-
put a blanket over it.
or a sheet or something over it on Sabbath.
really.
Really?
Didn't that bring more attention to it?
Well, I think the principle of it was good for us, especially the
Right.
black boys. The principle of
off
it was
limits.
good for us. Yeah, don't touch this stuff.
Mhm.
But I have to admit that my Callie, stop, man. I mean, listen. That's what it was. We believe that if you drank communion and ate the bread of communion, you have cancer next week.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Wait a
remember
minute,
that.
hold on, wait, say that again. I didn't.
The leftover communion bread you talking about?
That
Mhm.
if you ate, matter of fact, if you ate it unworthy, or if you if you weren't baptized yet, because when we were growing up, if you weren't baptized yet, you couldn't even touch it, much less. And then they used to take it out to the back and Callie,
Burn it, right?
You had to burn it
Yeah.
in the back and pour the. Okay, Callie, you see what I'm saying? I'm already.
Wow.
No, it's true though. I remember I was like a junior usher, so I was helping with the communion service, and we had some left over. And I'm gonna have to say that communion bread was some good bread, especially when a certain deaconess made it. That was some good bread.
See where she's at now? She's not making it.
And I remember going to the kitchen, and there was some left over. So me and another junior usher, we decided to help ourselves to a little bit of what? Why did we do that?
So when we saw those dark spots coming up,
But
it
it was.
wasn't the camera.
What it was.
That was communion breaditis.
Coming back to haunt me.
Look,
I mean, we were scared of the bread after that talking to we got from that deaconess.
I'm curious. What did whoever caught you? What did they say? What did they say to you?
I mean, it was a look, first of all, that they gave you, like how could you? How dare you? Don't you understand how sacred this is? And
Right.
I understood after the explanation, but as a young person, it just made me feel so horrible that I had done something that I thought was so innocent, and they were making me feel like I had desecrated the whole communion service by eating this leftover bread. I understood the sacredness, and that was the point. I do appreciate that they at least tried to explain it to me, as opposed to just trying to.
You came from a great church and a great because we didn't get it explained to us. If we had taken that bread, it would have been an exorcism going on at that time. I mean, it's just that sacred.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that.
I am becoming aware of some thoughts between Justin and Pat about they spoke about, and I didn't realize this, that about sex on the Sabbath.
Right.
Yep.
Now I don't know if people know this, but the rabbis taught that you were, and this is the honest truth, that they taught that couples were supposed to have sex 4 times on Sabbath. They actually taught that you were supposed to have four times. Now the Adventist Church went in the very opposite direction, and that is if you even thought about sex one time. So what was the? So how did you guys grow up, Pat? I mean, did they put a sheet over anything else in the house to prevent?
Callie, don't. My mother's gonna be watching this. Don't upset.
Okay.
Don't upset my mother.
How you walk in the house and say, "Where's your dad?" He's under that sheet right there. There's certain things you can't turn on, the TV or daddy.
Oh, yeah, right. Keep him right where he's at. We couldn't take baths on the Sabbath.
Yeah,
No,
that was true in our household.
Really?
No. And
That was work.
And the food was prepared on Thursday, Friday, and we always had worship an hour before the sunset.
Ooh, guarding the edges.
That's right. We had to go into the Sabbath. Instead of getting up, and so we went through a whole lot of these things, and my sons are the first ones to say to us, "We don't get this."
The food was cooked on Thursday?
Thursday.
So on Sabbath,
Friday and Sabbath.
so I know what you had on Sabbath now for protein, maggots. I mean, good night. Thursday. Wow.
We had warmers when we left for church Sabbath morning.
Okay.
Everything on the warmer. And this is the reason why the Jews have what you call Sabbath ovens.
Yeah.
You can go to Sears right now and pick up a Sabbath oven because the electricity will cook it for you. And I hate to say it like that, or the gas will cook it for you during a certain time. They're not breaking the Sabbath because they're not the ones pushing the actual button. So traditionally, Adventism had followed the Jewish tradition on these type of things where we became, we worship the Sabbath more than the Lord of the Sabbath.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
But I do think today, though, I think we've gone from one extreme to the other. I have to say, I struggle, and it's not a judgment, but I look at how we treat the Sabbath now. Yeah. And it's almost like anything goes. Like, whatever I do during the week, I can still do on Sabbath. I'll just say happy Sabbath while I'm doing it. And I'm trying to figure out where's that balance, and this probably be one of the topics we'll bring up in another episode. But I just see so many of us who were tired of those rules growing up. Now we're going totally in the opposite direction. We're doing any and everything on the Sabbath. And it's like, is it even holy to us anymore? Is what I'm questioning.
I used to wonder about going to restaurants and I still don't think that, because it basically says to the people who are serving me at the restaurants, well, you're doomed anyhow. So give me that pizza. I wondered about that one. I still do. I don't feel comfortable going to a restaurant.
There are a lot of, when I was first elder in church years ago.
Hold on.
What? Did I say first elder? No, I said elder. I mean elder.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter. I'll take the first order.
Yeah, I was. And I used to get some interesting questions from young people after they hear the sermon, especially, you talk about the Sabbath. One time the pastor preached that, you all need to put away watching your favorite programs on Friday night and just set the recorder to record it for you.
The cheats.
And I had a very sharp young person came up to me and said, well, if we program the VCR, that was how long ago it was. We programmed the VCR to record a program that we're not supposed to watch on Sabbath. Does that fall into the part of the commandment that says the stranger within thy gates?
Nor thy servant.
So your VCR was like a mechanical mule or something like that?
Yeah, I'm like, I was a little taken back. I'm trying to answer that,
Yeah, because is it in the doing or is it in the mindset?
And these are the kinds of things that start young people and older people down that track of questioning a lot of our rituals, and our celebrations. I ran into when the Jewish congregation first started down there in Baltimore. They were at Baltimore Berea. I went to cover their inaugural, service, and I got to speak to the representative from North American Division for Jewish, Jewish membership, Jewish affairs. And he said to me, Chuck, the difference between a Jewish community and the Seventh-day Adventists is that you guys keep the Sabbath, we celebrate the Sabbath.
Wow.
And boy, I'll tell you, that really gave me a lot to think about. Sometimes we're so busy trying to keep the Sabbath with our rules, our regulations, that the celebratory part of Sabbath that we should go away with when that sun goes down is missing. It's almost like young people couldn't wait for the sun to set. I mean, they're looking at what, is it set yet?
Yeah, the countdown.
Run outside, see how dark it is. Let's see, is it set yet?
You'd had folks who would wait and watch. Some of our young people would say, "Look, it's dark somewhere,"
And don't be in seminary. Don't live in
and Andrews,
because
where the sun sets near like 9 something. Yeah,
because it's the furthest west. It's the furthest east. It's the furthest west than the east, east and the west or whatever. We could sun be setting at 9:15.
Yeah, it'd be late, and I tell you, it was torture.
Yeah,
It was,
and it's almost like some young people feel like it's prison. You know, I'm locked down for 24 hours.
Yeah,
and that's a terrible conclusion to come to.
Yeah, and how do we shift that? Like, I know I'm trying with my daughters. Like, I try not to make it something that they don't look forward to. So, we're trying to hear their ideas about what Sabbath should look like, yet setting some parameters, because you know how I used to do this too. Like, you're singing certain songs and then you just throw Jesus in there to make it Sabbathified, or play certain games. Like, they like to play Among Us, and then Jesus is among us. And like, I mean, it's just, it's like, I don't know if that really works, but
hey, can I throw something else out? And especially for GP, he's like our, social media type. Yeah. I gotta throw something out. I remember when people, this is recent, by the way, when people say you shouldn't be on your social media on Sabbath, or you be on Instagram on Sabbath. You shouldn't be. Now because of the pandemic, what you gonna do now?
Right.
Yeah, that's where you watch your services. That's where you have
services are there. Everything is there now. So what do you say? Oh, I don't want to watch it because there's other news on the side, or there's other this, that. I'm just saying there's a lot of people. Listen, when I moved to Canarsie, Brooklyn, my parents moved us there at 7, 8 years old. It was a Jewish neighborhood. These Jews, if they walk a certain mile, they take this. They take count of their steps. When you reach a certain step, if it's still the Sabbath, in order not to break the Sabbath, they will sit there until the Sabbath ends. All right, so you just see them in the neighborhood just sitting there, and they're waiting for the Sabbath to end because they're not allowed to take a certain amount of
Sabbath day's journey. Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. And I'm afraid that we've become that way. But on the other side of it, because Latasha said it earlier, Sabbath is not. It shouldn't resemble Friday. It shouldn't resemble Thursday. It should resemble Wednesday. And the only time I got to really love the Sabbath is when I work. If I work during the week, I enjoy the Sabbath, and that's the only way you're really going to feel that thing.
Let me bring something else. I mean, because the pandemic has really brought it around to us, and that is this. For most of us, Sabbath is defined by what church you go to. Right. The first Sabbath keepers, the Jews, did not go to church on Sabbath.
Right.
The idea of going someplace to worship didn't come about until the exile in the 6th century, when they went to Babylon, and the synagogue system was created there. Right. Before that, people would stay home during Sabbath.
Which was pagan, by the way. But go ahead.
Yeah, so the idea of going out and going to church, and what we do on Sabbath, where we have churchianity. You get to church early. You're beating your kids up to make them get there on time, so that I used to watch, when I first joined the church, I used to watch people yelling at their kids, "You stop that running around and shut up making all that noise. It's the Sabbath." And I used to think, man, they're going to grow up hating this day. And I think, but now that people are at home and waking up, putting on their fuzzy slippers and having their avocado toast while they're doing Sabbath school, and I think people are enjoying it. I don't know if we will ever go back to what we once knew.
Absolutely not.
That's an interesting question.
Wow.
Can't be the same. I'm sorry.
Well, it takes us to that question, and we probably need to deal with that in future episodes, because I'm still asking the question. Folk want to know, what is worship?
Oh man, that's another question.
Yeah, man. We're stacking them up. We just got okay.
Are we going to? Because this is. Listen, I know our viewers are watching this thing, and we have so many. Why don't we all just leave Allegheny East Conference and just start our own podcast and get paid?
We may have to
put that sponsorship up right now. But no, these are.
But I just think the podcast is inviting people to think more critically. Open up, not be so stringent. Look at things from a different way. I've talked with people, people have asked me, well, why do you do what you do? And you're a Seventh-day Adventist, And I have to explain to them, my background, my upbringing. My parents were Seventh-day Adventists. We were barely Baptists, and
Barely Baptist.
yeah, barely. At least twice a year we were Baptists.
Easter, Christmas.
Yeah. So, I needed to explain to them from my perspective coming up, in the Adventist church. It for me, I look back in retrospect, it really fit my personality. But I was kind of somewhat of a hermit, geek guy, at school. Didn't have a lot of friends. Went to public school. Didn't have a lot of friends anyway, because I just didn't do the things that they wanted to do. So it was a good fit for me. And for a long time, I was thrilled, happy to do anything on the usher board, choir, Pathfinders. I was a Pathfinder director. I mean, I was just, and then, when you run the gamut and you become a young adult, some things you start to question,
Absolutely. And this is the place where all those questions will come to rest, and we will tackle each and every one of them. We are the Upsetters from the Upset Podcast, and this is just a little snippet of the type of dialogue we're going to be having on various subjects from week to week, and we're inviting all of you to be engaged and to join us. Are you trying to look intellectual, Tally? I
was trying to look thoughtful and reflective, but so much for that idea at this point.
And Tally, you know what? One thing Latasha is trying to get away with. We've heard from all of us as far as what we're going to be bringing to the table, and she tried to get away like I
told you guys, I'm here. I'm here to make sure you can continue to do what you love to do.
Yeah, we want to know what you think too. I think there's a lot of people
I have some things to say
that want to know what a woman thinks, what a woman from the conference office thinks. They want to know the same thing. It might not make a lot of sense coming from you, but either way it goes,
hold up here.
I didn't just say that. I'm saying it a lot of sense coming from you. That's what I meant to say.
We got it.
Pat,
Nevertheless,
don't get her upset. Don't get her upset.
Exactly. We're supposed to end happy. Remember, you don't upset it.
Am I a grape? What am I? An apple? What am I? A banana? No, I did that purposely just to upset you. Let's go.
No. Well, everyone, we thank you for tuning in to episode 2 of the Upset Podcast. We look forward to joining you next week, where we'll tackle some of those topics that we talked about this week, those subject areas. All right, Upsetters, you ready for another week of upsetting the folk?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
We're committed
Why
to the
not?
cause. All right, we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Take care.
Peace.